Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Get in the Herd, the McShin Foundation's award-winning recovery podcast, brought to you out here in what is storming and raining Richmond, Virginia. My name is Nathan Mitchell. I'm outreach director here, and welcoming to the show today, we have two people from the Phoenix joining us here. First, Chris Spallina, who is New Jersey and Pennsylvania program manager of the Phoenix, and second, we have Gavin Young, who is Gavin. What is the title? It's senior
Partnership and Engagement Manager. I know it took me a while to get that down.
They say the more words in the title, the more stuff you have to do, I think.
I was hoping it was less.
Well, welcome to the show, both of you. Chris, great to have you back again. This is your third turn at Get in the Herd. Gavin, this is your first turn. Gavin, I Facebook stalked you before the show, and I have to say, I missed the long hair. And I missed the long hair. I saw you with that glorious mane. So welcome. I'm sure it's a lot cooler.
Yeah, I miss having the mullet too. It was fun for a lot of years. And then one day I gave myself the last haircut, and then I was looking at growing it back, and I was like, it's too much effort. Which is kind of funny to say it's too much effort for actually doing nothing, but whatever.
Literally existing, right?
Yeah.
Great shirt, by the way. I like your red version of the Phoenix shirt. Chris, welcome back to the show. You reached out to me and you brought up the fact that it's been about a year since we first met, and you wanted to come back on the show and talk about some things that are going on. So, man, I have been watching you guys from afar for a year. I participated when I was in Houston last year. I was able to, I think it was in Plano, Texas. I met with one of y'all's groups there and did a hike, beautiful hike. That was a really nice day. My sister and I both did. And then I've done some of the online stuff. So you guys have a lot going on. So tell me, what brings you back to the show today? What are we talking about today?
We do, Nathan. So if I'm being honest, what happened was I was scrolling through Facebook and I realized that Mobilized Recovery is happening again this year. And that's how we met. If you remember, you were doing the Addiction Across America ride. And I was like, Gavin, just for some background, Nathan was going across the country and trying to show what recovery looks like across the country. And then he was going to share it at Mobilized Recovery in Las Vegas. So I reached out to Nathan, and much to my happiness to find out he is originally from New Jersey. So we kind of hit it off when we were chatting, and we kind of missed each other due to some car trouble and whatever else. But he was able to meet up with some of our crew in Texas and officially became a Phoenix member, and then kind of came onto our live streaming platform when I was doing some meditations, and I really integrated. So when I saw Mobilized Recovery, I was like, oh yeah, Nathan. Let me reach back out to Nathan, and then I saw that you were still doing the Get in the Herd thing, and we really just wanted to connect with you again and kind of share what's happened in the past year since we first connected.
That's awesome. Awesome. And I apologize if there's some noise in the background. I think we're having some emergency flash flood warnings or something here. Richmond's getting completely rained on here, so our bad on that point. But Gavin, welcome to your first turn at Get in the Herd. Good to see you, buddy. Where are you, and what are you doing with the Phoenix?
So we're actually also getting the same rain you are. I'm up in just outside of Philadelphia, Lafayette Hill, Pennsylvania, if you know southeastern PA at all. And my history with the Phoenix, I've actually been with the organization for about 4 years. I started just as a volunteer coach. I heard about this new program that was coming to Philly. They were offering free CrossFit classes for anybody that was 48 hours sober. I was coaching at a local gym at the time. I'd been about maybe like 8 years sober, and I saw how getting involved and getting into exercise and getting involved with the local community was really useful for me in my recovery. But I always kind of wondered, could what I was doing be useful to others within the recovery space? And then once I heard Phoenix was launching a chapter in Philly and they were looking for coaches, I raised my hand and asked if I could help volunteer. And that's how things started. I helped run a CrossFit class Saturday afternoons in South Philly. And then over the years, some folks at Phoenix talked to me about what it would look like to come and work for the organization professionally. And then last summer, they came to me with an idea of a role for managing some of our national partnerships, and I jumped at the opportunity, and here I am 10 months later, I think.
Excellent. Welcome. How's it going in the role?
It's going great so far. I think it's it was a little bit of an adjustment going from a for-profit world to a nonprofit world, but I think not to make it all about me, but if anybody's ever considering possibly making a career change or possibly going for something that they're a little bit more passionate about, and are a little hesitant or a little scared to do it, to take the plunge. I made the change at the age of 38. And I tell a lot of folks that, the like Sunday night doom and gloom when you got to think about waking up Monday morning and you got to go to work and you just dread it. And it just kind of like colors your entire Sunday afternoon. So you can't really enjoy it. I haven't had that since I took this job. So that kind of gives you an idea of trying to find something that you really care about in terms of how you spend your day to day.
Gavin, I can kind of relate to that too. Nathan, this is something you might not know about me. Before I got sober, I was a union carpenter in New York City, sheetrocker. In high rises, I worked in the World Trade Center. I worked at the American Embassy, a bunch of schools, and like I was a really good sheetrocker. But like I woke up every morning at 4:30, dreading that I had to drive or take the train to New York City. And when I got sober, I had this kind of realization, like, well, that's something that does not make me happy anymore. Let me see what else is out there. And when I found Phoenix, I also started as a member and a volunteer, and I became a meditation instructor and a certified peer recovery specialist. And the reward that I gained from helping others and watching others heal and grow, like I was worth so much more to me than the financial benefits of having to go to Manhattan every day. And the trade-off from doing something that I was completely bored of to something that I loved was immeasurable. Like I wake up with gratitude every morning that I get to work with people like Gavin. I get to share what I have learned to be healing for me in my own recovery with others. And like Gavin said, I mean, it is a big leap of faith, but for me, it was the best decision I ever made. Second best decision. First best decision I ever made was to stop doing drugs. But after that, it was to switch careers.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Chris. And I relate to both of what you're saying because, before I found recovery myself, I was working, in the for-profit world, and I did really interesting, fun things that just didn't really fulfill me. And then, I found my recovery through a program in jail and then came to Richmond, Virginia, and certainly, here I am, and really, really not getting that, not dreading my Monday mornings, not dreading what's going to happen next. And I love that too. I love that, your stories both talk about being volunteers. And I know that volunteer, being, we talk about the therapeutic, in a 12-step fellowship that I sometimes go to, we talk about the therapeutic value of one addict helping another is without parallel. And for me, part of that is the volunteering, right? So I know volunteering is important to y'all and has been. Tell me about what the Phoenix does and how others might get involved moving forward.
Chris, do you want to go or you want me to take that?
Go for it, Gavin.
All right. So I don't know how much Chris has covered on the previous episodes that he's been here, but just to give you kind of like a little bit of history, we were founded in 2006. Out of the Colorado region. And essentially when we first started, we were a brick and mortar gym for people with 48 hours of sobriety. And our programs were rock climbing, boxing, strength training, bike rides, things like that. But a lot of our programming was dictated off of having a physical space that we could run and having people in that space that could run programs. And, over time we grew and we started to realize that we're growing kind of slowly, like either acquiring space or acquiring staff, but the epidemic of alcohol and drug use, we're not going to be able to keep pace in terms of like the number of people that we can serve. We have to become a little bit more lean and a little bit more seamless in terms of how we expand programs. So we started what we call this volunteer activation model. And essentially what that is we have a portal that lives on our website that anybody who is interested in getting involved can go to. And then depending on what their background is, what their skill set, what they're coming to us with. We basically tailor our program schedule based off of what they're interested in doing and what they bring to help serve the community. So a lot of the programs that we started with were all kind of like fitness-based stuff, like your yoga, meditation, CrossFit are things that we bolted on over the years. And now we're at the point where we're trying to expand to some non-movement based stuff. Like I think we launched a chess club last week in Denver.
Awesome.
We have a couple. Yeah. So if you're into chess, which I'm very much into chess, that's awesome. We have a music program that started this year. We're doing a lot of live stream concerts, sober artists playing for sober individuals with eyes to eventually go more in person now that COVID's starting to lift. And we do book clubs, we do socials, but a lot of that is driven off of, people want to ask how they can get involved. Whatever you're doing with your free time that you're interested in, if you think it's beneficial to others in recovery, we're the way that you can share that. And, you indicate that through the volunteer portal, we'll set up a program that allows people to connect with you to do so. And we actually have a smartphone app, which is launching, I want to say within a month. And that'll make it way more seamless for folks to connect with each other as well, too.
And I think what Gavin's talking about, too, what that is also allowing us to do is kind of have Phoenix programming in areas that we have not had Phoenix programming yet. Like for a good example, through the volunteer platform, now we have some volunteers in Pittsburgh. And Nathan, I think you'll be interested to know that we have something up and running, some volunteers up and running in Washington, D.C. and Northern Virginia now doing a walk and a run club. So if you check our website out, you can get connected to some Phoenix people not far from where you're located. And we have plans with that. Our goal is to reach 1 million members by 2025.
Wow. How close are you to that?
I think to date right now, Gavin, correct me if I'm wrong, we're somewhere around the 60,000 mark.
Okay.
I think that sounds right. Yeah. But
well, I there's a comment from Mike Todd in South Carolina, and he says we have Phoenix coming to Greenville, South Carolina, and I know that we had talked about that, Chris. So talk about that. What's going to Greenville?
Yeah, so I know that we just hired our first program coordinator. Her name is Katie, right,
Hey,
Gavin? Katie is our program coordinator in Greenville, and we're just getting it off the ground now, but they're in the process of activating volunteers and activating programs there. So if you stay up to date on our social media and our website, you'll see some really cool stuff coming out of there real soon.
So I'm interested. You've kind of talked a little about this and what got you both into this, but I want to get involved and do an event or something and maybe attend a hike or something a little lower stress on this 45-year-old body over here. I don't have a lot of money. So how do I get involved? And I've only got, I've got a few days clean, but, or sober or, I guess a few days of recovery. What are the requirements to participate?
Great question, Nathan. And I think that's one of the things that's so inviting about Phoenix and what was inviting to me coming there. When I first came to the Phoenix, I had just got sober, just gotten out of jail, went to treatment, and then getting out of treatment, I got invited. Somebody came into the treatment center I was at. Her name's Amy, to teach a yoga class and talk about the Phoenix. And so when she said, "Hey, we have this awesome free sober active community. You can do free CrossFit, free yoga, free meditation, and all you have to do is have 48 hours of sobriety," I was on it. Number one, I was 35 years old. I had no idea how to socialize anymore. No idea how to make friends that were sober outside of 12-step fellowship. And the idea of going to do something that I wanted to do for free, I didn't have money to join a CrossFit box or a yoga studio. So when I went there, it was more than I expected. I found a community of people that I felt connected to. I felt that there was no judgment. I felt like I fit in. And at the end of the day, everything that we do is more about the community connection piece than it is about the activity. That's why Gavin was talking about all these things, anything that we can think of or our volunteers can think of that's fun, safe, and healthy to do with sober people, we'll create. So that was the main thing for me. And so 48 hours of continuous sobriety is the only requirement to attend any of our events. So whether that means you are a person that is in its recovery from a substance use disorder like myself, or some sort of a mental health challenge or eating disorder, are a supporter of someone who is, or you just want to come have some sober fun and live a sober lifestyle, all of our programs are open, accessible, and free to you.
That's awesome. Yeah. Gavin, you won't know this, but Chris, I think you'll know this. But when we did the walk, the little hike that we did in Plano, Texas, I was actually there with my sister, and the two of us. It was the first time I had seen her in actually 3 years. We literally met right there, or right before that, and then went and did that, and that was wonderfully welcoming. Not only from the community there. Welcoming me, but also my sister as well, and being able to just chat with them and with us and do this beautiful hike as the sun set. I got some great pictures. I was just actually looking at pictures earlier from that day. That was a really cool day. What else have you got planned going on? And also with all the changes that occurred during COVID and all the available resources that are online, do you see continuing those resources online and making those things available? Because I actually love that it's still there. I would like to do more of those.
So I can talk a little bit just about locally in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, and then I would love for Gavin to share a little bit about the national strategy. But what we've seen in New Jersey is when we didn't have in-person programming for almost 6 months due to COVID. That's when we first launched our live streaming program, how we first met. When the pandemic first happened, I think the date was March 14th. We got together as a team and we put that full platform up. Within 72 hours. We had our first class going. And what we saw with that was within those 6 months, it was so well received and people were coming from all over the place, places that we never imagined that we would have programming at. I think we had 22 states where we had physical chapters at before the pandemic, and then we have members in all 50 states and 6 countries outside of America.
Wow.
So it was really well received and really fun for myself, just to be selfish for a second, watching that magic happen that I said happened when I walked into our studio in New Jersey, the community connection, watching that recovery community grow. I got to witness that happen firsthand on my computer screen from my living room throughout the whole pandemic. So we did slowly integrate into doing outdoor programming last year, and then around October we were able to get back indoors with masks on and social distancing. But what we saw was that people were coming to the in-person programming and continuing to stay on the live streaming program. So we did make the decision that is going to be here forever. We're never gonna stop doing live streaming program. It allows us to expand our reach. Allows us to stay connected when we might not have programs to go to in person, or we might not have local programs in your location. We also launched our on-demand programming, which means we have professionally recorded meditation, yoga, fitness classes that can be accessed at any time, anywhere where there's the technology. And Gavin, maybe you want to even share what we've done with that on-demand programming?
Yeah, I think first off, to Chris's point, the idea of us going virtual was something that we always had on our roadmap, because if we look at a map of the United States, I want to say today, and Chris will jump in here if I butcher any of these statistics, but we run programs in about 20 states in the country. And within those 20 states, we're in about 55 different cities, 55 different communities. And in-person programs have always been kind of our bread and butter, but we started broaching this idea of, how could we access people that can't get to our in-person programs? And that's where the idea of building out a virtual capability really came from. Things are starting to get back to normal in this country. Things are starting to open back up. Our in-person programs are starting to ramp back up as well too. But at no point have we ever considered sunsetting this virtual offering. This is something that's here to stay for us. We were always a national organization. We kind of accidentally became an international organization. Chris talked about people accessing us from other countries, and we love that. And the programs that we put out there, some of our bodybuilding classes, or like some of our like functional fitness classes, things like that. Sometimes that sort of modality can be intimidating for folks, and a lot of our virtual workouts are things that you can do at home. Just simple bodyweight stuff that you can run in your living room, or being able to do a yoga class in your living room, things like that. We're big on removing barriers, and that's something that we found people generally love. So we're going to continue to do it. And Chris talked about the on-demand videos. We have a library of on-demand content that we also make available in prisons and jails across the country as well too. So people are accessing our programs within those facilities, and we're really trying to find access points wherever we can get our message and what we do out to individuals wherever they are.
Yeah, access points. I love that. I love that term. And I only just learned right before the show that you also put your material into the jails and prisons throughout the country. We do the same with this podcast and all the rest of the video media that we create here. We also put that in as well. Debbie Rosenbaum, who is a McShin board member, she asks, Gavin and Chris, can your services be used in a group setting? Meaning she's wondering about the participants at McShin. If we were able to set up a big screen TV and do that, would that be something that we could do?
Absolutely. So we've done that. We do that often. We have several sober living houses or transitional living houses that join us in their community room or from their community room. Several treatment centers do the same. Anywhere that there's the technology, if there's a TV that you can plug your computer into to live stream, you can absolutely do it as a group at your sober living home or transitional living or wherever you like.
And that would just be a matter of logging on to whatever is already available on, either using one of the pre-recorded or logging into something, as it comes, and we can just set that up, and essentially instead of one person doing it, it'd be 8 people doing it.
Absolutely. And if you have any questions about the logistics of that, feel free to reach out to me or send us an email at info@thephoenix.org. We can help you get that set up.
Yeah, I think to Debbie's question, it's not only something that we could do, but we are absolutely keen to help treatment centers, any type of facilities stand up our virtual programs within their walls. It's something that we feel is very easy, very accessible, and we'd love to have a conversation. I know our contact info is going to be made available through this podcast. So if anybody's listening to us and thinks, wow, this would really be great for my facility or my inpatient clients, we want to have that conversation. So by all means, reach out.
Yeah. And actually, anybody who's watching, it's scrolling across right now, thephoenix.org, or you can find them on Facebook at facebook.com/thephoenix, or on Instagram at Rise, Recover, and Live. I love Rise, Recover, Live. I love that, by the way, which is scrolling right now across the bottom of this screen. Those of you who are listening, www.thephoenix.org, and that's www.thephoenix.org. I always have to look at that, and I'm always going to flip the O and the E. So we were just having, our staff meeting here is at 2:00 on Mondays, right? And we literally had the conversation at the staff meeting that our programming has become, because of COVID, we haven't had the volunteers and the people who would come in and do yoga. We had acupuncture for a little while. We even had equine therapy for a little bit too. We have a house that has a small stable, and now they have chickens instead of horses. Easier to maintain. But so we've lost a little bit of that, for our participants. And so I'm glad we're having this conversation, because it really dovetails nicely with the staff meeting yesterday and how we can better serve our participants here, and how you guys are reaching out to RCOs and other, community organizations, community centers across the country and across the world. What do you guys see for growth? Now we're looking at 1 million by 2025, huh?
That's the goal.
That's
so that
the goal.
Means that we have had 1 million members come to a Phoenix event, either live stream, on demand, or in person. So we are expanding rapidly. I think Gavin can talk about some of the larger cities that we're launching into.
Yeah, we want to bring this to Richmond. I keep trying to get my guys here. We have this whole, Justin, our producer right now, you can't see him, but he's here. Justin and his whole sponsorship family, they're all a bunch of meatheads, right? You know the term, Chris, don't you? You probably know it too, Gavin, but that's so I hope that some of them are watching right now. Justin, anybody watching? Are you mic'd up? I thought you might be mic'd up.
I am mic'd up. I don't think anybody's watching, and I kind of did that on purpose. And if you knew my group of friends, you would know exactly why. We are quote meatheads though. It's a big part of our recovery actually. It's kind of something that we've used to replace, destructive tendencies that we all have. It's something that we've all connected over, and it's actually something we take very seriously. And I'm really proud of all my friends because we're actually in really, really good shape right now. So it's been extremely helpful.
So I think while we're on that subject, Nathan, you asked about McShin Foundation. You asked about how to get our live streaming programs into the McShin Foundation. If you have a few people that are interested in fitness or walking or running that are interested in bringing Phoenix to Richmond, they can contact us. We can get them on board as volunteers, and we can launch volunteer-led programming at the McShin Foundation. Phoenix volunteer-led programming at the McShin Foundation in some sort of a collaboration. But if you have a group of guys that are meatheads or into fitness for their recovery and something that they want to share with the newcomer or the person who just got out of treatment or was previously incarcerated that might be able to benefit from community and functional movement, it's an awesome opportunity to get on board and kind of share our audiences and share our networks and bring people in.
I think it's probably worthwhile to say, if there's a good chance that a lot of people that are listening to this podcast that don't know about our organization, if they go to our website, and we have a way, you can find our programs available on our website every single day. You pop in your zip code and then it'll spit out like a list of the in-person programs available, or you can go check out our virtual. There's a good chance that we probably run in-person programs very close by. And if we don't run in-person programs within your city or within your community, if you're someone that wants to help bring Phoenix to your area, we could activate you as a volunteer. Or if you're connected to gym owners, yoga studio owners, music studio owners, anybody that wants to donate space to us, our programs exist and are free to anybody with 48 hours of sobriety because of individuals that we partner with that make their space available to us free of charge. So I living in Philly, my in-laws live down in Florida. I've made the drive down and I've stayed in Richmond before. It's a lovely town. And I know that there's a lot of fitness spaces, yoga spaces down there that if we could have a conversation with them about, possibly hosting our programs, we would be all about it.
Nice. Something you might not know, Gavin. I think Richmond is the only city in the United States that actually has rapids on the river going through the city, and you can do a whitewater rafting right through the heart of the city, which I've done, and it's a blast. So I think we might have lost Chris. So let's we'll see if he comes back. So it's just you and me, Gavin, for a minute here.
That's fine. But like, to your point is, if someone was living in Richmond and said like, hey, I know how to do whitewater rafting and wanted to run Phoenix programs for whitewater rafting for individuals within recovery, we could talk about activating that as well too. And that's something where you don't need the donated space. Maybe at least somebody with a donated boat, that would help. But,
welcome back, Chris. I know that we were talking about expanding, the expanded resources available in Virginia, Northern Virginia and DC. We're not too far from there. And, certainly it's an easy weekend, up and back. And I know that between DC and Richmond, there are lots of great places to hike. We've got the mountains close by. We've got, the ocean's not too far from here either. So we can do a lot of great outdoor activities. Of course, in DC, there's trails and things and whatnot. Here at the McShin Foundation, Debbie mentions this, and it's funny. I'd forgotten about this because clearly I'm not doing it. But we started a run club last year or the year before, and it's started by couple staff members, and it's a Wednesday afternoon thing. It sometimes there's a lot of people, and by a lot, 4 or 5 people. Sometimes it's just 1 or 2, but that's that incorporating that physical activity into the recovery space. Having that available for our participants. We also have a I'm not sure what the collaboration is, but we have a gym membership available to all of our participants. I think they have to be here 2 weeks, and then they get a free membership for life as long as they fill out a survey every year.
Well, it's for 1 year, not life.
Well, no, but after a year, you can fill out the survey and you get another year of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that. I apologize.
No, that's okay. No, but that's because it does. Yeah, the card does have a year on it. But
Yeah.
all you got to do is come and fill out a survey, and you can get that card renewed.
Oh, I'm filling out the
survey. see, this is good that we're having this conversation. But there's room for collaboration there because that's just McShin, so we could incorporate, the thousands. There's I think like 1,200 recovery beds in the Richmond area right here, and to be able to offer these services, which are so important. What got you into this stuff? What was your, if you don't mind sharing, your recovery journey? I'm making some assumptions on you, Gavin. I don't know where you've been. I know a little bit about Chris's story, but share if you don't mind. Where were you? What happened, and where are you now?
Certainly. So, I to work for a nonprofit that utilizes a lot of fitness programs in order to serve people in recovery. I'm definitely a square peg in a round hole because I had zero to do with athletics when I was coming up. I think, I I started drinking probably when I was around like 13 or 14 off and on, and then like started doing other stuff in high school. And my drinking kind of really took off right around the time I was 18, right when I went to college. And I think I was someone who kind of rationalized a lot of the things that they did because I was like too young to have a drinking problem. I was at college, so like you can kind of like say, all right, well, this is just what college kids do. But I got arrested a lot. I got picked up by the cops a lot, and then I have a driver's license suspended like 3 times, and stuff that I thought was pretty normal for a 19, 20-year-old kid. But looking back, it's not exactly like it's not the most normal situation. And the school I was going to at the time remanded me to go to drug and alcohol counseling, or they were going to ask me to leave. And I went. I told them like how often I drank, what I drank, like how much I drank, when I drank, and I didn't really think anything of it. But they broached the subject of like me possibly having an issue with alcohol, and I remember thinking, I'm too young for this. And I walked out of there, and I wouldn't find recovery until 5 years later. I was out of school a couple years. I was pretty much unemployable. I had a tough time, not necessarily with my drinking, because my drinking was when I felt normal, but it was the bouts in between my drinking that became problematic. My hands shook all the time. My legs shook all the time. I had trouble keeping down food. I didn't have any appetite because I felt sick all the time. So I was probably about maybe 30 pounds lighter than I am now. So I kind of look like a skeleton walking around. And I had a lot of those paranoid episodes where I had issues looking at people in the eye. And I thought people either thought the worst of me, or people, knew that I was thinking about myself too much. And the only thing that ever really quieted things down is drinking. And I was always kind of chasing this like equilibrium where I wasn't hearing that anymore. And I felt kind of all right. And I felt safe. And like, I was always trying to like figure out what that middle ground was. But like in between binges, it was pretty bad. And I guess it was around like the age of 25. I tried quitting for Lent. And I tried to see if I could go 40 days without drinking, and I made it 2 days. And I walked past the bar in my neighborhood, and I went into the bar to go get a cheeseburger for dinner. And I came out of a blackout 2 days later, and I was so distraught that it was the first time in my life I made a conscious decision that I wasn't going to do something, and I still did it anyway against my own will. And I woke up that morning, and I was so distraught by it that I didn't have any way of kind of dealing with the negative feelings around that I just started drinking again. So I started doing the exact same thing that I was trying to avoid as a way of combating it. And then that was the last day I drank. That was 2008. And then I Googled 12-step meetings, and I found the sober house in my area, and I started going to meetings there. And I was really active in the 12-step community for a really long time. But right around the time I was maybe like 6 or 7 years sober, I was pretty miserable. I was working in a career that I didn't really care about. I was very not open about my recovery. I felt that there was a certain amount of shame and a certain amount of stigma about being in recovery. I wasn't open about it. I didn't talk about it with other people. I went to my meetings. I talked to my friends that I knew from there, but on the surface, it wasn't really something that I wanted people to know about me. And then it actually kind of dovetailed nicely with starting to eventually find Phoenix programs. And this is something I'm sure Chris has touched on previously, but one of the big tenets of our organization and what we do is self-identification and stigma reduction. A lot of our staff, a lot of our volunteers, they're all individuals in recovery themselves, and they will routinely disclose who they are, where they come from, and what their background is in terms of recovery. And it's a really helpful and useful tool for us in terms of connecting with the new person coming in, because most people listening to this, I imagine, are in recovery themselves. They're going to know exactly what that feeling is like walking into a new space, carrying a lot of that shame around and feeling like they're the only person in the world that has this problem. And there's nothing more useful or effective in terms of connecting with that individual than having somebody else listen to them and say, me too, I've also gone through that as well, and I felt exactly the same way. And the individual that's currently off screen that was talking earlier talked about getting together with a couple of friends and going to work out together. And the outcomes of a lot of our programs, like people might they might start back squatting a lot of weight, they might get a faster mile time. There's all this external stuff, but the thing that really benefits folks from what we do is this feeling of connection. And you're talking about people that have historically felt very down about themselves for a very long time, and now they're getting a certain amount of empowerment around what they're doing, and they identify with other folks that they routinely come together with to share this experience. It's pretty beautiful. I'd encourage anybody that hasn't been to one of our programs to attend and just see what it's like.
That's beautiful. You've been in recovery since 2008, you said?
2008. If anybody remembers that Super Bowl where the guy on the Giants caught the football on his helmet, I got sober probably
was you?
that Super Bowl. Yeah, that was me. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that story. Chris, the same question to you, man. What brings you to the work that you do? And I love that, y'all, it's the Jersey in me. I mean, it's the Virginia in me coming out there, Chris, edging out the New Jersey. I love that y'all are so open about your recovery. That's one of the most important things here at the McShin Foundation, I think, is that all of us here are in recovery ourselves, and we can relate, to individuals, the new person in recovery coming in the door. Chris, what's brought you here today?
Yeah. So you said something earlier that I really kind of related to, Nathan, and we kind of touched on it when we were talking about the programming on the tablets. I will kind of fast forward my recovery story, because from the time I first tried to get sober at 21 to the time, till 2011, was just try after try of going to detox, going to rehab, going to jail, all the things. I would get a few months clean, all these kind of feelings of guilt and shame and embarrassment or failure would come up, and I would just start using it again just to kind of not have to feel those things, and then just kind of compounded my problems by doing that. But the breaking point for me, or the shift for me, really happened was in 2011. I got arrested in upstate New York. If in Virginia, I'm sure that you are all familiar with the band Phish. So I was at the Phish festival in upstate New York, and I got arrested for various different charges. And in upstate New York, it's not, Nathan, it's not like New Jersey where you get, they find you with a bag of some sort of substance and they're like, all right, come on, let's go. And, we'll give you probation, we'll give you drug court. And this upstate, Eastern New York, Western New York, Watkins Glen, they were like, yeah, you're going to prison. And I was like, whoa, what do you mean I'm going to prison? This is a Phish concert. People don't go to prison from Phish concert. But anyway, so I went to prison. I got sentenced to 3 years. And I went to Elmira, which is a maximum security penitentiary in New York State. Saw like lots of things there that I wish I hadn't. Not a place where I felt connected, or not a place where I felt that I fit in.
Yeah.
So kind of the antithesis of what we're talking about. But luckily, while I was there in New York State, they have a diversionary program that they call shock incarceration. Sounds super fun, right? Shock incarceration.
Shock
But,
incarceration.
yeah, sounds super fun.
Boom, you're in prison.
Yeah, and their symbol is a lightning bolt. It's a black shirt with a yellow lightning bolt on it. Don't ask me where it came. But anyway, shock incarceration. It's modeled after like a military boot camp. But instead of like learning how to shoot guns and fight, there's drug treatment mixed into physical fitness and lots of organization and discipline. Waking up at 4:30 in the morning, making sure your bed is made so that they can bounce a quarter off it. And if they can't, they're going to tear all your stuff off and throw it in the mud and make you crawl to go get it. Saying, sir, yes, sir. All these fun things. Ironing your prison uniform so it had 3 seam creases down it. It was super fun. I'm being sarcastic when I say it was super fun. But what I realized while I was there was like this organization and discipline that I never had before in my life, that I didn't even know I didn't have, was starting to make me feel a little bit better about myself, starting to make recovery kind of look like something that I could achieve. Mind you, at this point, I have like 6 months clean because I've been sitting in prison and then going to this shock camp. And then the icing on top of that was they were getting us up at 4:30 in the morning to run a couple of miles and like totally out of shape before smoking cigarettes, eating like ice cream with Snickers bars melted in, all that stuff that you do when you're still using. But after a few months of doing these physical activities, the running and the all these PT workouts in the morning, I started feeling better about myself. I started looking better, kind of like it helped with my like emotional regulation a little bit. And that was the first time when I got out of prison and I came back to New Jersey. It was the first time in my life that recovery looked like something that I wanted or something that I could achieve. And I stayed sober just by going to the gym and just by running these Spartan races and obstacle races for almost a year. And then what happened was I got off parole. And like when I got off parole, it was okay for me to, go to run one of these races and go to the bar afterwards with everybody. And that quickly just, turned back into a whole mess. Went back to just what I was doing because I was hanging out with the same people, dipping my toes in, doing the same things. When I started using again, probably like around 2015, something new started happening to me. I started overdosing. So between 2015 and 2018, when I finally got sober, I had three near fatal overdoses. I picked up like 5 new criminal convictions. Went to I got to visit a couple of different county jails that I hadn't been to before. And then in 2018. I had used and overdosed for the last time, right here or across the street from where I live. And I got resuscitated, and the police officer that resuscitated me pointed over at some little kids playing basketball, like a couple 100 feet from my car, and was like, you see those kids over there? You could have killed them and you would have spent the rest of your life in prison. And even in like being the haze of being Narcaned and just waking up, like that's what I remember, was that I knew I didn't want to go back to prison because I already been there, and I didn't want to die. I didn't want to go to prison. I didn't want to hurt anybody. But when I went to the county jail after that, I made that decision. Like, whatever I have to do this time, like this is my last chance. Everybody told me, even my lawyer was like, hey, this is your last chance. Same lawyer that I've had for 10 years before that. So luckily after I went to the county jail, I was there for a few months. The judge saw my record and saw the struggles that I had, and he said he would release me from the county jail if my family, my girlfriend, and my attorney could set up a treatment center to accept me directly from the county jail. So after some time they did. I got transported from this treatment center in the sheriff's van in handcuffs with a full beard and my hair all over the place. And I got basically perp walked into this treatment center. When I sat on the clinician's couch, our couch was so comfortable, or maybe it was just like the change in scenery, but I remember just sinking into the couch and just like letting it all out.
Those foam mats in jail or in prison are not comfortable at all. This is a big change.
Maybe they have better ones in Virginia, but the ones in New Jersey are not super comfortable.
No,
No.
no.
If you're lucky, you get two, and maybe you can make do with that. But that's probably not going to happen. But yeah, I remember sitting down and then like just having this conversation with her, candidly speaking about all the things that I had done that had worked for me in my recovery, fitness, hanging out with sober people, spirituality, and all the things that didn't work for me. And we kind of came up with this plan together. She introduced me to meditation and yoga for this kind of like emotional distresses that I had had, or like feelings that were coming up. And first I kind of laughed and I was like, yeah, yoga's for chicks. I'm not going to do that. But she just like kind of invited me, like, try it. And I did. And it instantly, like within a couple of days, I knew that this was going to be part of my recovery path. And then, like I said, somebody came in, talked about the Phoenix. And when I left treatment, I came to the Phoenix. I'd never left. It's just what worked for me. It's been such a pleasure and an honor to be able to share with others and make a living out of it and watch the organization grow and watch our members and our volunteers grow. My favorite thing is watching the person that comes out of treatment or jail with 48 hours clean, 6 or 8 months later, say like, hey, I just got my CrossFit certification. I want to coach classes. Or, hey, I'm a yoga teacher now. I want to do yoga classes. Or, I'm an artist. I want to run an art class for people in recovery. And we can make all that happen. Watching the growth and healing in individuals that we serve there's nothing better. There's nothing, you couldn't pay me enough money to feel what I feel when I see that happening.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate the both of you sharing that those vulnerable stories and what I hear, that willingness to change, that willingness to do something different. Gavin, you spoke about, not being athletic, younger when you were younger, and then suddenly, now you work for an organization that does a lot of athletic activities, and talking about the spirituality and the yoga and saying yoga's for chicks. But then, now I know you, Chris, as the yogi you are. So it's beautiful because I really, really admire that. So we are very close to the hour here. Do you we could sit here and talk for 2 or 3 or 4 hours, I have a feeling, but I know that we have other things to do with our lives and we have places to go. But share with us one more time, what are we doing today? Where do we want to go, and how can we get more involved?
Gavin, you want to take that? I think you're muted.
Oh God, Gavin, you are.
I can't believe it. I made it through almost the entire podcast without doing that, and now I love it right at the end.
Well, that's the one big thing that came out of 2020 and the pandemic. You're on mute.
Yeah. I feel like I should make a T-shirt with that on it. I think if there's anybody that's listening to this, there's a couple ways that you can get involved. One is as a volunteer, which is, we always talk about volunteers being the lifeblood of our program. And whatever your desire is to give back, like even if you like going to the movies, if you wanted to set up something where like you and a couple other friends do like a movie night or something like that, like there's a lot of different ways that people can create connection and community, and we can be the way to reduce the barriers to do so. If you're someone that knows a gym owner, or are a gym owner yourself, or a yoga studio owner, or any space that we could utilize to meet and want to connect with us about possibly making that available, that's another opportunity. Or if you have the capacity to give, I mean, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We keep our programs free for everybody. We rely a lot on donors to keep our programs running. So there's a lot of different ways to get involved. And if you're even just more curious about what the organization does and where we can go, you can learn a lot from our website. You can email Chris or I. You can email Chris first and then me when he doesn't respond. But yeah, we really relish this opportunity. So Nathan, thanks for giving us this chance to come on your podcast and talk about what we're doing. And I'll defer to Chris on the rest.
Yeah, I think you said it all. If anybody does want to get involved, just reach out. We'll make it happen. And if you're just curious about what we're doing, come check out one of our live streaming programs or our on-demand programming. I was able to talk Nathan into not only going to Plano, Texas to an art hike, but Nathan has also come to many of my live streaming meditations. So I need to. It has, but he's going to be there tomorrow. Nathan's going to be at the Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time live stream meditation with me. So if you're interested in checking that out, come and see us.
I like
Yeah.
that. Guilt.
All jokes aside, yeah, please just let's get connected. You know, that's for me. That was the missing piece of the puzzle was finding the people where I felt connected with that wanted to have fun in recovery and in a safe, supportive, and inclusive environment. That's what it was. The last piece for me.
Well, I have one more question, and I really am so grateful for the both of you to come on today, and nice to meet you today, Gavin. What does recovery look like for you today?
So I got very lucky in the fact that the first person I ever met when I walked into a 12-step meeting is an individual who we both left the city, we both moved out to the suburbs, and now we actually live in the same town, and our lives look wildly different. Like, we're both married, we both have kids now, and we have dogs, and we get together one night a week, and we walk our dogs together and we talk. And it sounds very simple, but when you talk about connection, like, even something like that is really powerful. And at the same time, working professionally for the Phoenix has exposed me to a lot of other individuals in recovery that I never would have met otherwise. So work isn't necessarily recovery, but there is certain tenets that exist within our workspace that I feel are really powerful and really helpful for me. So that's kind of what recovery looks like for me. And I try to nap if I can, but I got a 2.5-year-old, so that's not really happening.
I love naps. Naps are the best.
I love naps
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, naps are great. Naps are a big part of my recovery. No, I have a routine. Like, every day I wake up, I practice my meditation and journaling. But above all else, I think recovery for me looks like the people that I hang around with. Like, honesty, integrity, generosity, compassion are all things that I look for in the people that I spend my time with. And that's true for almost probably everybody that works for the Phoenix, for my family and my loved ones. And always putting my recovery in as number one. So, like, if I have to go to a family party or somewhere that maybe is not, my favorite place to be, I'll go, but I also have an escape route or someone to call if I need to.
Nice. Just want to shout out, thank you both again, I want to shout out a couple of comments really quick. Timothy Covington, good to see you back, buddy. So true, remaining open. I think to something we were talking about earlier. I know TC pretty well on the outside of the podcast. Patrick Jones says that sounds like a wonderful dream life. And Sharon Louise, oh gosh, another question. Well, we have time for one more if that's okay with y'all. Chris or Gavin, can you also mention that participants can bring someone with them as long as they also have the 48 hours of sobriety?
Sure. I think that's one of my favorite things about our programming. One of our most involved members here is not a person in recovery. He's just a supporter of what we do, and he likes to come out and have sober fun. So all of our programs are open to anyone that has 48 hours of continuous sobriety. So whether you are the person in recovery or you're a supporter of someone in recovery, you're welcome to come, and all our programs are free. So yeah, bring your mom, bring your girlfriend, bring your friends.
Bring your mom,
anyone who has 48 hours of continuous sobriety is welcome to come.
Bring your 2.5-year-old. Well, great, guys. Debbie says, to close off, she says, great conversation. Thank you for sharing your stories in recovery, and I appreciate that too. Any final thoughts before we close out, guys?
No, thank you for having us, Nathan. It's always a pleasure to see you and talk to you.
I appreciate it. And
this has been wonderful.
Good. Thank you, Gavin. Chris, the photo you gave me last year for my birthday is still the background. I just thought of this. It's still the background on my computer screen. Thanks again. I hope you're doing well with your photography.
That's amazing. Yeah, I have a new one I'll send you today. I got my first sunflower of the year, and it's like almost black. It's amazing. I'll send it to you.
Awesome. I will look forward to that. Thank you, guys. Thank you all for listening and participating, everybody out there today and everybody out there in the future listening. Thanks, as always, to Justin, our producer, and to our, I guess, assistant producer, Derek, over here. Yeah, I like that. Associate producer. We'll give him a title later, but we got another guy over here, our intern. But thank you all. We'll see you tomorrow for Women Wednesdays, and then Thursday. Who's on the show Thursday? What do we have? What do we have going forward on Thursday? Do you know off the top of your head? Old paper. Oh, well, all right. This is terrible. This is absolutely terrible. I should know this off the top of my head. But going ahead to Friday, we put an extra special show in, and I want to give a shout out because we've got people from the Maine Recovery, Maine, MAINE, the State of Maine Recovery Advocacy Project, coming on to the show virtually from Maine with a participant here at the McShin Foundation who is from Maine and about to return to Maine. So we're going to have an amazing conversation there, get people connected, which I love that word, connected, building communities, right? And talk about some of the changes that have been happening in Maine, some of the legislation that's going on. So for Thursday, what do we have Thursday?
Thursday is cricket.
How did I forget cricket?
How could you forget cricket?
That's going to be a great show. And you guys might appreciate this too, you, Gavin and Chris, because cricket is our, among other jobs that he has here, we all have lots of hats, right, in the 501c3 world. But cricket, his name is Christopher, we call him Cricket. He runs our recovery jail pods. So right now we're getting ready to launch a new recovery program in the Richmond City Jail. We've got some other things going on that we're working on, and he's going to come and talk about those programs and what we're doing there and check in. So anyway, with all that stumbling at the end there, love all you guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Thank you again, gentlemen.
Thanks, Nathan.
Thanks, Nathan. All the best.
You too.
Here at McShin, we believe in the McShin way, which is authentic recovery support service providers, people with lived experience, bringing that experience to those who need that lived experience in recovery.
Here at McShin, we believe in many things to support our mission. We believe in women empowerment.
What I love most about what we believe here at McShin is we believe in the authenticity of the peer-to-peer approach.
Here at the McShin Foundation, we believe in giving people opportunity.
Here at McShin, we believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every person.
At the McShin Foundation, we believe in helping people reach their full potential.
Here at the McShin Foundation, we believe in multiple pathways to recovery.
Here at McShin, we believe in placing principles before personalities to help spread hope.
Here at McShin, we believe that recovery is possible and that any person seeking recovery can become a more acceptable, responsible, and productive member of society.
Here at the McShin Foundation, we believe in self-discovery.
Here at McShin, we believe in saving lives and offering second chances.
Here at McShin, we believe you can do this.
Here at McShin Foundation, we believe that we can only keep what we have by giving away, which is why we continue to help others like us seek and find recovery.
Any place, we'll get there.